From an underwhelming return to the ring to the prospects of sharing a fight with his biggest domestic rival, it's clear that the boxing world is ready for Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. Timing is everything when it comes to setting up the perfect fight, and to be fair, the ideal time for a matchup between these two was probably a few years ago. Because, let's be real, Anthony Joshua hasn't been having it all his own way of late. The former heavyweight king has suffered 3 incredibly high-profile losses in the last 5 years. The first, of course, came as a major upset to the totally unheralded Andy Ruiz. The Mexican slugger managed to shock the world, becoming the first heavyweight champion from his nation by TKOing the British champ in a crazy turn of events. Then, after climbing his way back to the top, AJ came up short twice against the rising cruiserweight great Alexander Usyk. Now, it's pretty clear that Joshua's stock has taken a considerable hit. Fans of this sport have watched him lose 3 times in the last half-decade, and his return bout against Jermaine Franklin didn't exactly set the world alight. That fight was a solid performance, don't get us wrong. But Joshua seemed to lack the confidence of a world champion. It was almost as if the fire just wasn't the same. He's by no means done, but the early signs are there. A lot can change in one fight though, and judging off the reaction from the fans, the timing is now perfect to set Joshua up for that all-British affair against Tyson Fury. Whatever you want to say about Joshua, he's still a massive star in the UK, and there isn't a stadium on earth that these two wouldn't sell out. In fact, if you put belts and prestige to one side, there's an argument to be made that Anthony Joshua is actually the biggest fight for Tyson, based on the amount of attention it would attract. The heavyweight champ Tyson has indeed been eyeing up a clash with Usyk, a unification bout for the ages that would single one of them out as the undisputed king of the division. But by the sound of things, the fight is stalling. And with Fury now looking at a bout with Andy Ruiz instead, and Joshua sitting patiently on the sidelines, could we be looking at a matchup between these two to close out 2023? Well, if one thing is for certain, it's that neither man is going to be hanging around the sport for too much longer. Sure, both guys will no doubt have a few more years, but again, timing is everything. And if you want to make some money, the time to act is fast approaching. Eddie Hearn, who knows a thing or two about putting on a massive boxing event, was asked about his fighter's standing as a superstar in relation to Fury's. The question, how would AJ versus Deontay Wilder do at the box office, in comparison to Fury versus Usyk? And boy, did his response not leave anything to the imagination.
Joshua Wilder by a mile. You know it's a much more exciting fight than Fury Usyk.
Now, to be fair, the man is clearly biased. But he's not wrong in his view that Joshua is a major figure in the sport, because he really is just about as big as it gets in heavyweight. And just because he has lost some fights doesn't mean he's not a bigger name than Fury. We'll leave that debate up to you guys though. Fury's last fight saw him taking on an aging Derek Chisora, and while Tyson looked dominant, the bout did feel like a bit of a layup for Del Boy. Not so he could win, but more so to see an old legend of the domestic scene get one massive payday before retiring. And while fans were pretty vocal in their wish to see Fury and Usyk next, Tyson released a series of videos taking shots at his fellow champion, accusing him of dropping the ball in their negotiations.
Tried all week to get out of it, begging for a rematch like a little girl. You got your rematch and didn't even want to fight at that.
Usyk is the fight that makes the most sense, but if that truly is off the table, Joshua has been making some noise on his end. And by the sounds of it, he's ready to put it all on the line for a fight against the Gypsy King.
Well, 100% Tyson Fury. I think that's a WBC heavyweight champion of the world.
Now, over the years, these two have traded insults in the press, with Fury preferred to call Joshua a bodybuilder instead of a real boxer. But even still, apart from a few setbacks, Joshua is, of course, one of the 5 best heavyweights on the planet. And outside of his battles with Deontay Wilder and Vladimir Klitschko, there's little doubt that this would be the toughest fight of Fury's career. A lot of people might disregard AJ's chances because he lost to Ruiz and Usyk, but they're very different fights from the one he would get from Tyson. So how do these guys stack up? Well, obviously, Tyson is going to have a major height and reach advantage over 99% of fighters. But here's where this matchup gets interesting, on paper at least. Fury does hold the advantage in size, but in contrast to Tyson's 6'9" frame and 85-inch reach, Joshua's own 6'6" height and an 82-inch reach doesn't look too bad. And there's no denying that the muscular frame of Joshua would give him a level of physicality in there that would be far beyond the likes of Wilder, and definitely Usyk. But of course, boxing matches are won and lost on many other factors. So what does Tyson bring to the table? Well, he's astonishingly quick for such a big man, and his defense and overall head movement and footwork systems are already the stuff of a legend. And on this more recent run, Fury has shown himself to be growing into more and more of a power puncher. During his early years, he was more of a technician than a devastating KO artist, but we saw him beat the brakes off Wilder on more than one occasion, landing several knockdowns in the process. While in his fight with Dillian Whyte, Tyson delivered perhaps the cleaning punch of his career, a deft uppercut that left Whyte on the canvas. Joshua, on the other hand, is clearly having an opposite journey. During his initial rise through the heavyweight ranks as a prospect, he was unquestionably a lethal power puncher, scoring KO after KO to put his name on the map. But after earning the title and losing to Andy Ruiz, the dude has certainly lost some of that killer instinct. Fury may even have a better shot at cracking Joshua's chin than the other way around. It's easy to see why so many are favoring Fury to get the job done here. He's the more complete boxer, the more fearless puncher, the better technician, and his undefeated record is there for a reason. But that doesn't mean the fans aren't still very interested in seeing this one play out, because in reality, anything can happen over the course of 12 rounds of boxing, and the spectacle alone would be truly insane. Can you imagine just how good the press conferences would be? And the ring walks? Just think of a packed Wembley Stadium with the two biggest boxing superstars the UK has produced since Lennox Lewis, walking out to finally share the ring together. Well, if they can get the politics right, then this fight is a no-brainer. Fury doesn't necessarily need it, but it would be great business. And for Joshua, he would find himself in a position to win back all of that worldwide recognition. One fight could literally change everything, because right now, things have been looking a little dicey for AJ. The fans and the sports analysts haven't exactly been full of praise for him, especially on this current run. He doesn't appear to be performing like a man who needs to make a massive statement. No, his performances of late have showcased a fighter who looks afraid to lose. We've all heard many leading figures in the sport speak critically of AJ. Teddy Atlas is a prime example of someone who just isn't convinced. But what a fight Fury would bring! Would be a chance to shut them all up, to totally get one over on the doubters once and for all. Just on a surface level, it's one hell of a fight, you've got to admit it. From his underwhelming recent form to the opportunity to get the entire boxing world back on his side, Anthony Joshua needs a big break, a big opportunity. And it looks like the sport is ready for him to finally face off against his countrymen, the heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury.